We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people.
So this episode is going to publish right around the end of spring, where riding our horses is picking up. And we've got some sunny weather, hopefully, and we're doing the things, and those summer dreams are coming to fruition, and we're looking ahead and excited to ride our horses coming out of winter. And a conversation that comes up a lot is hooves this time of year, because we're transitioning from wet to dry. And a lot of people, if you shoe your horse, hopefully you've pulled your shoes over the winter and you're deciding, do I put them back in? Or do I keep them barefoot? And what does that look like? And so in this episode, we're just going to kind of talk about the reasoning behind spring hoof decision making and get you kind of thinking about what that looks like.
I think this is such a powerful topic because way back when I started, I was 11. Okay. But even into my adulthood, I didn't know. I trusted my vet to tell me what needed to be done. I trusted my farrier. I trusted my hay source because I didn't know. And as I've evolved over the years and have become professional in the industry, I realized that is a very universal thing. There's a higher percentage of us horse loving people who sacrifice at our own expenses to make sure that our horses have the very, very best. And yet we don't understand what that very, very best is for the horse. So we are relying on the professionals. And Laura and I have been together growing with each other for several years now, and the hoof has always been a passion to her ever since I've known her. And you've opened my eyes in so many ways to how important it is for us. We don't have to master it, you guys, but we have to have a really good understanding. So what Laura's going to share with us today that I'm super excited about is she's going to lay down a pretty good foundation of information and understanding that I would say 90% of us that have horses do not possess at this moment.
Yeah. I'm sitting here right now and my hand smells like thrush, which is disgusting. I trimmed 2 horses this morning, and I don't think that smell is disgusting anymore, which is even more disgusting. But anyway, aside from that, it's unrealistic to think that every owner is going to learn how to trim their horses. But when I look at all of my work that I do, my most enjoying part of the job is when that owner really wants to learn. Not necessarily even to trim, but just to learn what they're looking at and to understand the different parts of the hoof and their function and to know what should I worry about and what I shouldn't. And that is where, like, I am so passionate about people learning that, because most of the time when I get a text with a photo of a hoof from a client, it is something that's not concerning at all. Like, it's just the way it is the ugliest things are usually like, oh, that's just really overgrown bar that you can literally flick off with your hoof pick and go on with your life. Not a problem. The more subtle things, like the deep, deep central sulcus thrush that's been there for years, or, a big abscess that's now blown, but we want to know why, the stretch in the lamina that is there every single time and is not growing out. Like those things that we get really accustomed to are the bigger problems. And when I can educate an owner to really see, like I say this all the time, I'm a human and your horse is a horse, and we don't exist perfectly together all the time. So there are times when I screw up and don't balance a foot perfectly. My most favorite moment is when I get a picture and say, "Hey, is that balance off?" And I say, "Oh, shoot." Next a week later or whatever. Yeah, it is. Next time I'm going by, I'm going to swing into your paddock and fix that for you. And learning to see balance and see angles and know what is a problem, like just know what a healthy hoof should look like, is the best insurance you can have to have a healthy horse for a long time. But before we get into that, we kind of have to back up and look at the state of the industry. And this is where it gets complicated. And I can tell you that there are extremely passionate, skilled, well trained, top of the industry individuals who are incredible in a small percentage of us all. Then there's a very large percentage of people who care deeply and are doing the very best with the education and the information that they have and the resources that they have. And whether or not that is for the greater good of the horses that they're working with or not is sometimes yes and sometimes no. And then there's a very small percentage of professionals who are abusive, who are negligent, who legitimately don't care and just want your money. I cannot tell you where on that spectrum your person lives. Your gut knows that. The abusive, negligent individual is very easy to say, "You're not doing a good job. Get out of here."
And your horse will tell you about those guys.
100%.
Their way that they are after the farrier has visited, if you're one of those people where the farrier comes out when you're not there, I would encourage you not to do that,
Yeah.
period. Because everybody has a bad day, and I have seen farriers that I have known for a very, very long time have a bad day and smack a horse. So, but if you can't, I mean, if you can't work that around because your schedule in life, either have a friend there or pay attention to what your horse is saying. It's no different than your child.
Yep.
If you're having somebody watch your child or your kids playing with somebody and all of a sudden they come home with a different attitude, that is extremely powerful information.
And in today's day and age, camera $250 for a camera setup, and you can see it. I do a lot of trimming of horses that owners aren't around. And I think that's because they see the way I am with their horses and they feel comfortable. And I have no idea if I'm on camera or not. I always assume I am. If you're at my barn around my horses, you're on camera. And I literally never check the camera. I shouldn't even say that on the internet unless there's a problem, but then I can go back and look.
Hmm.
And I've checked the camera 2 times, I think, because of something that made me think, "Ooh, I need to go back and look at that."
So
So
yeah, you'll know
you'll
if
know.
that your fairy falls into that category. It's the others that are a
It's,
little
so
harder.
yes, that chunk in the middle is challenging, and I need everyone because the information that I present here might make you question your person. And I need you to understand the background that most vets and farriers come from and the tradition and the culture of the horse industry. This paradigm shift is going to happen. And there's a lot of people that are rushing to get on board, and people are just at different points in the paradigm shift. But at its core, horses are farm equipment and tools, very back at the beginning of the industry. So all of the tradition and science, the science is based in this mindset. The vet training is based in this mindset, and farrier schools are based in this mindset of we need to make this horse sound right now, today.
So it can get back to
so
work,
it can get back to work because we
or
need,
it
of
can
course, to
fulfill
put
my
food on our
sport
table.
aspirations.
Yes, fulfill my
And
sport
yeah.
aspirations. The performance, like I don't have a lot of performance horses on my books. I have two, three maybe. Um, and I'm so excited that these people want to go on this journey. And I can't wait to be sitting in the stands cheering for them when their horses are out there doing it. But that is the we need this horse sound right now because it has a job to do. And that is what shoes will get you. So the training, the mindset, everything that's being prescribed is not taking the long-term health of the horse into account. And that is why bare feet are becoming so much more popular. But there's still this mindset of horses of specific genetics and specific type of feet can be barefoot and they're just lucky. And that's not actually the case. It's horses who are being trimmed right, who have a complete understanding. Like when I go to a horse for a barefoot transition, the first thing I do is I inspect that foot and just identify all the pathology that I possibly can see. I watch how the foot is landing. Usually they're landing toe first, which tells me their heels are way too long. And that's pushing, like when you wear high heels, all of a sudden all your weight is being put into your toe. And I know, that frog is shriveled and up, way high up in the hoof capsule and not functioning. The frog, there's no muscles below the knee. I know I've said this on episodes before, but I'm getting better at saying it. And you're going to hear it again and remember it. The frog and the soft tissues in the back of the foot are full of shunts. Shunts are just little pumps. So when the horse steps down and they load those soft tissues, the shunts open and the blood is pulled from higher up in the horse down into the foot. And when they pick up, the shunts close and it's pushed back up. So they're pumping the blood. So a horse in shoes that isn't getting that ground contact, that isn't getting the stimulation of the soft tissues, is having reduced blood flow to not only their foot, but the whole limb.
Okay, so I want to stop you there because when I first heard this concept, it kind of made me go, huh? And so I want to make sure for anybody out there that isn't fully understanding what you're saying that we clarify it.
Yes.
So when the horse's hoof hits the ground versus when the horse's shod foot hits the ground, the shoe is keeping the hoof from basically expanding. Just like if you guys take your shoes off and you watch you lift your foot and it will actually contract. And
Mhm.
when you step down on the ground, your hoof, I mean, your foot tissue will spread out. And that, again, is pumping the blood and keeping that foot, I almost said hoof, that foot healthy. So the blood doesn't remain stagnant in there, right? So it's kind of like if you were breathing out of a straw. You're never fully oxygenating and getting clean, healthy oxygen, which is actually in blood. Is that correct? Is that
Yeah,
how?
so the science is a little bit unclear about how much expansion and contraction is actually stopped. Like if you're in like a heart bar or something that's like completely fixed back across the back of the foot, expansion is stopped. If you're in an open metal shoe, the studies say it's about 30% reduced. The big thing is that no matter what, if you have something that's making your horse's hoof wall higher than it should be, aka a shoe, you're not getting ground contact to that frog. And that the frog is so important. So if you look at a frog on a barefoot horse versus a frog on a shod horse, it looks like two different pieces of anatomy. And it's crazy how if I get to a barefoot transition and I start trimming that frog for the first time, my knife just cuts through that frog like butter. And it shouldn't. On a healthy frog, I prefer to use my nippers because it is hard to get your knife into and clean up a nice, healthy, really robust frog.
Hmm.
And your horse needs that, one, for their blood flow, and two, for their concussive forces. So when they're stepping, that frog in that digital cushion is absorbing the shock of their 1,000-pound step and stopping it from radiating up into their joints. And when they don't have that, and it's just metal on concrete or gravel or whatever it happens to be that you're riding on, it's way harder on their joints. So let's get into my horse says, my farrier, my person says my horse is going to be crippled without shoes. I'm going to just tell you guys the story of a horse that I'm working on right now. That was the thought process was she said she's a specialty therapeutic shoer and she says he's crippled without the shoes. Okay. I don't ever want to take shoes off a horse and have them be more uncomfortable. I don't believe that a horse should be lame for 6 months after your shoes come off. The horse needs to be comfortable. Otherwise, you're getting more problems. But I looked at his angles of his feet and I'm like, yep, those angles are really bad. I see why he's landing toe first. The way his hooves are right now, he absolutely needs those shoes because life is not comfortable for him. And I sit back really hard on these conversations. Like the owner has to be the one doing the boot changes. The owner has to be the one watching the horse and reporting back to me every day. The owner has to be the one that's willing to say, oh, maybe I don't ride you for 6 months while we get this fixed. So I never want to be convincing anyone of this. But when the owner says his long-term health is my most important, biggest thing that matters to me more than anything, I start saying you might want to consider looking at this. So we pull his shoes. And they're shoes with pads. The infection in these feet. My car still stinks because I got it on my chaps. This was 3 weeks ago. No, this was 4 weeks ago now. Um, and the foot is just crumbling. Thank goodness he was carrying way too much foot. This is another thing to understand. If a horse is carrying way too much foot, then I have so much to work with to fix it. If a horse has been kind of scalped, the healing process takes way longer. So I can put my measurements on a foot because I know there's ranges of toe and heel height that normal horses have. And when it's way, way high, I'm like, this is fantastic because I can come in here and, literally take an inch and a half off this foot and he's still going to have plenty to work with. When I come in and those measurements are really low, I have one who we did x-rays before we took the shoes off because I was like, this is concerning to me. Very, very thin soles. I could hardly touch her when we took those shoes off. She needed to grow a foot before I could fix the angle. Understanding those differences. And guys, if you're wondering about this stuff, please reach out to me. I can guide you through measuring your own horse and helping you. I'm not going to go through these measurements on a podcast because you need to be able to see it. It's utterly confusing. But just know that we have ways of gathering a lot of information before we make the choice to do the thing so that we can give you a good idea of what it's going to look like. But in my big thoroughbred's case, thank goodness, we pulled his shoes and I had a ton of foot to work with and I just cut infection out, cut infection out, cut infection out. And it's so scary because that sole is so soft and so crumbly. And you think, oh my God, I'm going to keep going until I see this horse's bones. But that's not what happens. What happens is he's got a healthy it's called the hard sole plane. And everything above the hard sole plane is compacted, infected, nasty material that just builds up when the horse has the pads on because it doesn't come out. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it wasn't being properly trimmed away between resetting the shoes and the pads. So I mean, it was just littered. The whole barn stunk like infection, and it looked like it had snowed from all the feet all around me. But sure enough, his hard sole was beneath all that. Now it had abscesses in it. It had, it was not perfectly healthy because that's what happens when that buildup occurs. But I was able to pare it all out, fix the angles of the foot. We threw him in boots because we had a huge storm coming, and I didn't want him to be like blowing abscesses in a disgusting, mucky mess of mud. He was in the boots for 2 weeks. Now he's out of the boots. He's sounder in his feet than he has ever been since she got him because I fixed the angles. But if I didn't have the education that I have to measure and fix the angles, we would have taken those shoes off and he would have been extremely lame, without a doubt. So, in your understanding of this whole thing, would your horse be better off barefoot? Is kind of the question of this.
I think a lot of people have that question, even those who have been told your horse can never go barefoot.
Yes, and
I
she,
think a lot of us have that question.
right. And so the true answer, if you want to know the true answer to that, is one, what is the condition of their bone? If you get an x-ray, we can slowly fix thin soles. Sometimes it takes up to a year. You have to be willing to either boot up and listen to them or not ride. But if you're willing to do that, we can fix that. We can fix bad angles. We can't regrow bone. So what happens is if those angles are very bad for a long period of time and they're weight bearing on the very tip of the bone in their foot instead of it sitting flat like it should, it starts to degrade. So to know, take an x-ray. That bone's in really good condition, you've got a great shot. If you are willing to keep them comfortable and allow them to heal, another complicated long-term healing thing is if the soft tissues at the back of the foot are really crushed, if you have it's called a navicular diagnosis. Navicular is a little bit complicated because, like in the horse world, like colic, it can mean many different things. Um, but again, there's a difference between navicular syndrome, which is basically unexplained back of the foot pain, and true damage to the navicular bone. We cannot fix damage to the navicular bone, but we can slowly and painfully heal tissues in the back of the foot. And often, because of those tissues are crushed, we also have really bad thrush in it. So you've got what should be an incredibly strong tissue supporting the weight of your horse that's been slowly just kind of atrophied away because it hasn't been able to function correctly, coupled with a big old infection. And that can take 6 months to heal. So you have to be willing to say, I'm going to put my horse in boots. I'm going to watch him. I'm going to treat that thrush. I'm going to do everything that needs to be done on the intensive care end and give it the time that it takes. But the people who do that, 9 times out of 10, have a really tough, barefooted, happy horse at the end of it.
Hmm.
So we kind of sassily say, like, any horse can go barefoot, but not every owner can. And I would like to kind of give a more aware and compassionate conversation around that. There is a thought process in the horse industry where if it's not broke, we don't fix it. So a lot of professionals, if they look at a horse's angles and they know they're not great, but the horse is sound, they won't fix it because they're scared to do more harm than good. Again, it's that make it sound today. If you have the mindset of I'm here because I want MJ to be standing in the driveway happy as can be when Sophie leaves for college. Like I want her to surpass 30 and live forever. And every decision that I make for her is based in that desire. And I have found it very frustrating to find professionals that align with that because that is not the culture of the industry. And so you might find yourself on that same journey. Now, my school, and I will post this in the show notes, has a map of all of our professionals that you can find someone with my mindset and my training near me if this is setting off some alarm bells in your head. We also offer owner consults online if you want to learn to trim your own horse. We have a group of 13,000 people that are in various stages of learning to do this on their own because they live in really remote areas where they can't get the help they need. Another thing, I just want to give everybody a compassionate look at this whole complicated issue. You know, a lot of times these horses, when a horse's angles are really bad, the rate of growth at the front and the back of the hoof is shifted to match that angle because it's been like this for so long. So what that usually looks like is the heel is growing twice as fast as the toe. So I literally took 2 inches off this horse's heels a month ago. I've been to see him twice since then. And every time it's at least an inch and a half that I have to put back. And it's going to take 6 months to a year to retrain his foot to grow at matching rates at the front and the back of the foot at the correct angle. And so I have set up my business so that I can get to him every 2 weeks. I can get to my little pony who's doing the same thing every 2 weeks. A lot of my horses are on 4 weeks. And some professionals are like, they have such a huge range. They're only in your area of the world once every 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever that is. That's way, way harder to fix the problems. Now, if I get into that situation, what you can do, maybe work with your professional, is say, hey, I want to fix this. Can you show me how to rasp these heels every week to keep them where they belong? And then you can come. Like this new way of caring for feet requires more owner involvement. Not all of my owners can afford for me to come every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks. And so I'm like, that's fine. You're going to pay me to come out for one Saturday. We're going to intense on this. And you're going to do it imperfectly, and I'm going to keep teaching you. And it's going to work.
Ready to unlock true freedom with your horse? Join Unbridled Freedom, our private Facebook group for women on a spiritual journey in horsemanship. We don't fix our horses, we transform ourselves. This is your space to embrace challenges, celebrate victories, and deepen your bond with your horse. If you're ready to lead with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace, join us today. Let's dance with our horses as one. The link is in the show notes below.
So what if somebody has a farrier that's not willing to do that or doesn't prescribe to this kind of approach?
You have to decide, am I going to find somebody else near me? Or am I going to try to take it on? What you can't do is decide to try to do this halfway.
So Laura, what happens if this is really resonating with some of our listeners and they don't either feel comfortable having the conversation with their farrier, or they know that their farrier is going to look at this as woo-woo, new shit, barefoot. A
Right.
lot of farriers for a long, long time, even now, have had the opinion that barefoot is a fad and a
Right.
hippie
We're out there with our
approach,
crystals and our
and
sound bowls.
we want our horses to be like Mustangs and Mustangs go barefoot. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of noise out there that I hope our listeners that this resonates for will be able to end this podcast with some clear avenues to approach. And I am one who's struggling with some hoof issues as well. I think what I would recommend is first reaching out to Laura and maybe having a consultation with her. And I don't know what she's open to, so I can't, I'm sure she'll
I
fill
mean,
in the
I'm
blank.
open to flying anywhere in the country that you want to fly me to, but it's
But I
probably
mean,
unreasonable for you to do that every six
just
weeks for me. So
no,
we have to figure out a plan. Like,
just to start the
yeah.
conversation of this is my horse, this is his history, this is where I'd like to go. What's your approach? Because Laura did lay out that there's people that are attending her school that just want to learn how to do their own hoofs. And there's, you know, she's willing to come see you. I know that she just got back from Yosemite for her second trip of working with a group of women who loved this stuff but couldn't find somebody in their area. So Laura spent I think it was a weekend, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
teaching them
filming it.
how to
Yeah,
do it.
Saturday to Sunday. Yes,
And
yeah.
then you came out just this last weekend and did some more work with them. So there's always that option and some people may want to get that personally involved. Laura and I have had the conversation about me learning, and it's like,
Mhm.
I don't have time to do
Yeah,
it.
Cindy is not interested.
But,
She's
well, she hit me at the, okay, here we go. We're going to air some laundry right here for all of you guys to hear. She hit me when I was in a very extremely vulnerable, had just spent 8 hours trying to anesthetize and safely recover a Mustang.
yeah.
So she hit me when I was raw. And so that was this is our podcast, so I can say it. That was my fuck you, Laura, bad timing reply. But the more that I'm looking at my horses and my future, is it may very well be the best avenue I can take for my horses if my body can physically do it, is
Well,
the
and
other
let me explain
limitation.
my reasoning behind that. So, Cindy's in this impossible situation where her horses have been self-trimming themselves, her wilds. And now in their new environment, they aren't.
Hmm.
And so she's having to figure out how to trim horses that do not want human interaction.
I don't want to be gentled.
They don't want to be gentled. And
Don't touch
you have
me.
heard us say a million times on this podcast, some horses don't want to be ridden. Some horses don't want to be gentled. We honor that. We honor that. And then you find yourself in a situation where you have to move the bar
Hmm.
and it stinks.
Hmm.
And having to anesthetize a horse, that was needed. But we
Hmm.
don't want to have to do it again.
No, because Mustangs, just for those who don't know, Mustangs do not metabolize anesthesia like regular horses, domestic horses. And there's very few veterinarians that I have come across that actually understand the cocktail, we call it, that gets them down safely and gets them back up again. So the result is they often get way, way more anesthetic than we would ever want to give them. And I quite literally that day didn't know if my horse was going to recover. So then Laura hit me with the comment and she got my middle finger response. But my point being is that having this knowledge, one, is empowering. We don't know what we don't know till we know it. And to have somebody like Laura is a natural born teacher as much as she is a student. And to have somebody that is willing to be available worldwide, really, for online stuff and to travel to you. I mean, that doesn't mean you pay a gazillion bucks to get her to your place. No, you get a handful of people who are interested in it. Somebody hosts it and lodges her, and she comes out and spends a 2 or 3 day weekend doing a clinic.
And
And
my school
then,
has clinics. I can post the link to that. They're in Australia, they're in Germany, they're in the UK, they're in Canada, they're all over the place.
yeah,
That you
so
that for owners, not for pros. So we have an arm of owner education and an arm of professional education.
So knowledge is power. And
Yeah.
if you have a horse who you want to live forever, which we hear in our veterinary practice all the time, the only way, obviously, that's not going to happen, but we can help them live as long as possible by expanding our knowledge of what their needs are. And what Laura has done for me personally has expanded my knowledge on how behind the times farriers are in the health and well-being of our horses. And that is not a negative statement. I'm going to
Well,
go
let's
back to
talk
the rule of
about
thumb.
Donnie for a minute, because I'm very
My
impressed by
farrier,
him. Yes, because Donnie is saying things to Cindy that I've been saying from my education. Like he is, I don't know if he's aware of it or not, but he is participating in the paradigm shift on his own time and journey in a way that gives me incredible hope. In a way that gives, I've shared the changes that he's made with my instructors, and they're over the moon that this way of thinking is starting to roll down the hill into other, like he could have gone in and trimmed Chief in a way that crippled him and left him in so much pain because of how overgrown he was, and he didn't. He did a
no,
peaceful trim.
he he is continuing his education.
Yeah.
It's obvious just from when he started working with me to the conversations we're having now. And I have been sharing some of your school of thought as well. Um, and his wife is a trainer and a barrel racer. So, they're in this is their world, the well-being of the horse. But yeah, he is the whole point that Laura's making is he is continuing his education.
Yes.
And any professional, especially when you're dealing with living beings, and the science is always changing, so we can be better. Our environment is ever changing, so we need to be better. You need to be willing to keep your education up. And Laura is, well, always, I know her, she'll always keep that education up, but she's offering people a great opportunity to expand your awareness on your horse's feet. And if your horse doesn't have happy feet, you don't have a happy horse.
Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of people want to make this shift, and we've seen, just to kind of give you an idea what to expect, like some farriers are on board and they're like, hey, show me the parameters of what these people trim and why. I'm going to get my head wrapped around it and I'm going to help you. That makes us very happy. But it's complicated because if somebody came to me with the parameters of a different trim that I'm doing and wanted me to do it, I wouldn't do it for them. I would explain why. But I have a reason for every part of the trim and why it happens and why it needs to happen this way. And I have horses that get trimmed differently for very specific reasons. Like, nothing is a cookie cutter box. But it's when people start saying, I want this gone today, I want this to look better, they start trimming for aesthetics, where I go, I won't. So if your farrier is trained on outdated science and believes that they will be harming your horse by doing the trim differently, and they say no,
You want to respect
you
that,
want to respect that. So
but
it
you
has to be a
also,
careful conversation.
yes, you want to
Yes.
respect that. But when at the end of the day, everybody, your horse is entrusted in your care. You
Yes.
are their advocate. So if you know better and you want to do better, and your care team, a member of your care team, is not in alignment, recognize it, don't get attached to it, and go find someone who is, because they're out there. But it's a very touchy subject. It's like in our veterinary practice or me as a trainer. Let's just use me as a trainer. I have had numerous clients loving what I'm teaching them, seeing the results, and then going to somebody else's clinic or watching YouTube videos because they're hungry for knowledge. And they see the horse doing things that they want their horse to do. So they come back and they want me to change what I'm doing so that their horse can do that, or they want to tell me that their horse needs to be doing this and so I have to make them do that. Well, I am not interested in helping somebody with their horsemanship by committee.
Right.
It's just like
Because you're
veterinarians,
a nervous system
you're
specialist.
supposed
Oh, what's going to happen to the nervous system if you make that horse do that today?
right.
You're
And
like, no,
so
that's outside of the scope of what
right.
I'm willing to do.
Or, I have people come to me that I've been working with for a long time, and they're like, well, I was talking to this person, and her trainer's having them do that. So I've had that trainer come out, and now I'm working with that trainer on these days and you on those days. And that trainer is having them do exactly the opposite of what I'm having them do. And it is wrong. Okay, it's not even like, okay, that's a different way because there are a million different ways often to do things. Not all of them are right. Not all of them get you the result you're looking for. And but what this trainer was telling this person to do was flat out wrong. And I'm like, peace out. I'm not even going to have that conversation with you. First of all, why didn't you have the conversation with me that something wasn't working or you were looking for more?
Right.
We could have had, I thought we had that relationship. But I am not going to spend half my time with you or your horse trying to undo the confusion that's being created. So the whole point that I share that with you is because professionals are, I would like to believe that most of us are doing the best we can with the information we have. Some of us are not continuing to grow ourselves in our industry, so our knowledge is falling behind the times. But to have this conversation with your farrier, if you're curious as whether or not your horse can go barefoot, first of all, you're going to know how your farrier feels about barefoot if you're in shoes.
Yep.
If your horse is barefoot and struggling out on rocks or struggling in whatever way, then maybe that's the time to reach out to Laura and just have a consult.
Yep.
But I think what we want you to walk away with is don't go to your farrier expecting them to receive what you're sharing about, I want my horse to go barefoot with an open mind. It's all communication is key and approach it with respect.
Yeah.
Like, I think what I would do would be like, hey, how do you feel about horses going barefoot? You've maybe never had the conversation with your farrier because you got the horse trimmed. You were told shod. You were told he had to remain shod. You've never questioned it. There's
Right.
never been a reason to. Your horse has been sound and happy and healthy. But maybe that money could be spent somewhere else while improving the well being of your horse,
Right.
you know? So this is this can be a very touchy conversation, as you can see. Laura and I love each other dearly, and we got a little heated just in timing. Um, I, as a trainer, have gotten heated when people come and want to tell me that they're bringing in another trainer or their friend's trainer. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful.
But also, I'm going to just swing us to the opposite end of the spectrum of this conversation because I hate the culture of you respect your farrier and you don't ask them questions. I hate
Yeah,
that.
that's no, that's wrong.
That's wrong. And it's very prevalent. And I have people, oh, I'm so sorry I'm asking questions. I'm like, no, literally get somebody else out here to hold this horse and come stick your head down here and watch me because I want you to understand every part of this. And if you have, there's different personalities. So if you have a farrier who's just a person of fewer words, that's understand that personality. But if they legitimately cannot answer your questions in a way that makes sense for you, I am questioning their understanding of your questions and their knowledge base. And you have to use your intuition on that end, but just know it exists. And you should be allowed to ask questions and not feel like you're being told you're being rude because you're not.
And that should be with anybody. That should
Yes.
be with your veterinarian. That should be with your hay supplier. That should be with your body worker, your farrier, your trainer. They are there as your support team. You are, one, paying them,
Right.
two, your horse's advocate, your horse's voice.
Mhm.
So you have every right to ask questions and be treated with respect.
Yeah.
So it's the beginning of a fun season, everybody. Bare feet, shoes, boots, they're all within the normal world of horses. I prefer to have all my horses barefoot. I have had some that I've had to put shoes on through a transitional period, but but I am always having the goal of getting them back to being barefoot because that's what's natural and normal for them.
And just look at it. That is your goal, and that is what you have accomplished
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it matters to you. So I
I
guess
mean,
that's what we're saying. We're saying, you guys, if this matters to you and you're not getting the support that you need, reach out. I'm
yeah.
literally never going to be mad at somebody for sending me some photos of their horse's feet. I'll probably say your photos aren't good. You need to go take some better ones. But
And when I got Rocky 2 years ago, May, he had shoes on the front feet and not on the
Mhm.
back, which is a common, I don't want to label, but it's a common California thing.
Oh, interesting.
It's a common
Guys, it is.
California thing.
Yeah. I can guarantee you that if your horse is perfectly fine in the back, there's a world where they're going to be perfectly fine in the front
Right?
too.
I never got it. I even had farriers when I lived in California. I grew up in California say, "Oh, we need to put shoes on the front." I'm like, "Well, what about the back?" I mean, to me, that would be like uncomfortable as hell, right? You're uneven. But anyway, Rocky came with shoes on the front. He was a mounted police horse and did trails. And my farrier, who I love, Donnie, that Laura was mentioning, I said to him at the first time, he said, feet look good. I go, oh, do we need to put shoes? Do we need to keep the shoes on? And he goes, well, let's see how he grows out this time with shoes on. And then we can make the decision. And I said, well, how about if we take his shoes off and see how he grows out and how he handles my rocky pastures? I know he's going to be sore, but how long will he be sore? And you'll know when you come back. And he goes, we can do that too. His hoofs are great. His hoofs look great. So that's what we did. And Rocky has never had shoes back on.
Yep.
And yes, Rocky was sore for 2 or 3 weeks out in that pasture. And, some people will say put boots on them for that first period of time. And my philosophy, which is the same with me in the summertime, I've had shoes on all winter long. It's going to be uncomfortable walking out in the yard. And yeah, I'm going to step on a rock and I'm going to give. I'm not going to put full weight on it. And yeah, my feet may be sore, but his feet are
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. And so the like slight better difference of having a barefoot specialist versus a farrier is that I tell people if your horse is moving around, like if they're so sore that their movement has been reduced, we need boots.
Hmm.
If they're a little uncomfortable every third step, they're using their feet, they're getting stronger, that's what we need. I carry a bunch of boots in my car, and I'm like, here, you can rent these for me for $2 a day. You're going to need them for about 6 days. I'll pick them up next time I'm here. And then you have those with you. If you don't have that, you buy a pair of boots. Now, the complicated part of this, I love Easy Boot Cloud boots. They're a therapeutic boot. You don't ride in them. They're very clunky and very big, but the sizing is very flexible. They're going to make your horse comfortable out there in their paddock. Um, they're about $100 a boot, which is why I rent them to people because then over the year of barefoot transition, growing a new hoof capsule, their hoof completely changes size. So if you buy them yourself, then you are now having to buy another pair. If you want, something to ride in or something like that, you're having to buy another pair. So I try to get people through that initial huge change in the foot on a simple little rental fee instead of making them buy boots. But that's the whole thing, is the work of observing your horse and going through the transition.
And we do have an episode in the first year of this podcast where it is about boots.
Yeah,
So for those of us that are endurance riders and want their horses barefoot or, do a lot of rocky trail riding, but still want your horse barefoot, there's that episode as well that you can listen to.
yep. So yeah, guys, I hope you're having a fantastic spring of riding your horse. But if you are having second thoughts, having sore feet, having problems, you're not quite sure what's going on, reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat about it and see what's up.
I think the last thing, I don't know why this popped in. I think it's when you said it's this time of the year and having sore feet. Remember, guys, springtime grass is not your horse's friend. Little bites, moderation, yes, but the first place that you're going to know that your horse got too much of that sweet, sweet spring grass is going to be in the sore feet.
Please don't replace grass for hay. They need hay all the time.
Yes, yes. Grass is a treat unless your horse is born and raised out on pasture. And if that's the case, then you already know how to handle this time of the year. So just a really important thing, you guys, is don't let your horse go out and graze for an hour.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please. This has been awesome, Laura. Thank you very much. I've learned more, and I hope all of you have enjoyed learning about your horse's hoofs.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.